Pushing Back the Shadows presents A Very Mental Christmas. It's all the tips, all the tricks, and all the secrets that you need to get yourself through this Christmas while managing your mental health. Hello and welcome to day 6 of our Very Mental Christmas series. So I'm Alex, I'm here with Cheryl, and today we're looking at Christmas Day. Now this is kind of what it all builds up to. It's the biggest moment of chaos in the Christmas period. I mean, all the shopping's done, all the preparations are done, in theory, all the wrapping and everything else that we really, really don't like. And then we come to the big day.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost like a theatre performance, isn't it? You
Yeah.
rehearse, you prepare, you make the costumes, and you rehearse some more, and then you've got the big performance.
Yeah. It can be a very big, for want of a better word, but a big show.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of energy. That's not even if you're cooking cooking Christmas dinner yourself, or if you've not got kids. It still ends up being a big deal of a day, whether you like it or not. And that can come with a lot of stresses. There's all that expectation and, the pressure to make it just perfect.
Yeah.
And it can be really, really hard.
Yeah. No, I was fortunate last year, because my actual Christmas Day was nice and quiet, because it was me, it was my mum and dad, and my dad's parents.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, you have Christmas dinner, you go to Christmas dinner, and start again, you have breakfast.
Yeah.
Go off to Christmas morning church. Parents are ministers, so naturally, of course, we go to church on a Christmas morning. Then come back, get Christmas dinner ready, and after Christmas dinner, Dad goes to sleep, Granddad goes to sleep, Grandma goes to sleep.
Sorry.
That's alright. And it's, it was kind of nice and quiet. Mum and I tackled the washing up or whatever while everybody else was snoring. I'm probably not supposed to have said that, but whereas this Christmas is going to be a little different.
It is, but
because I'm going to have 2 very mental kids and 1 very mental mother. So it'll be different, and it can be quite chaotic, quite stressful, quite
bonkers is the word. Yeah, I mean, I can give you an example of a normal Christmas in my old house. Was something along the lines of getting up at somewhere in the region of about 5 o'clock with a very excited child. This is when my oldest was younger. Going downstairs, bear in mind, getting up at 5, I probably wouldn't have gone to bed till 2, because getting everything ready.
Getting everything ready, that's normal for you.
Thank you. Getting up at 5, very excited child. You have Christmas morning breakfast, then there is this flurry of wrapping paper and noise and chaos and crazy. Glitter everywhere as well. Don't ask. Father Christmas leaves magic footprints. He just does. Yeah, he does, and he leaves them everywhere. And it takes an awful lot of hoovering up afterwards on a day when you really don't want to do any more cleaning or anything else, but you're doing it anyway. And then there's that onslaught of your cooking, and there will be time pressures. I mean, mine was always, you're up at a particular time because the child gets up at a particular time. So you're going downstairs, you're opening presents, then you're cooking the breakfast, whatever they're having. Then you're moving on to, once you've got through all the present opening, which with small children can take forever.
Yeah, with not so small children as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're trying to also cook not even just a meal, you're cooking what's essentially like a feast. And that, again, adds its own pressure. And if you are trying to do that single-handed, that becomes very hard work very quickly. And there's a lot of mess, a lot of chaos, and it can take a lot. And then you've got the time pressure of, we've got to be at so-and-so's place by 6 o'clock, and you think, we've not sat down to dinner till 3.
Yeah, and then add on top of that depression, anxiety, bipolar, whatever else.
Yeah.
And it does get very overwhelming very quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've spent so many Christmases stood in what was my kitchen in tears. and just couldn't shake that feeling. You know, everybody goes, "Oh, it's the happiest time of the year." Well, not for everybody, it isn't.
Most wonderful time.
I knew we'd get you singing, but yeah, that's something that's happened to me a lot. That in so many different respects. Sometimes it's been the, nobody seemed to like their presents enough. That sounds really stupid, but that's where my brain goes.
Yeah.
And so if it wasn't the reaction I expected from particular people for their gifts, it was a bit like, oh, well, they didn't like it. Oh, well, I'm rubbish. And then you just go down that horrible spiral.
Yeah.
And then there's that whole... It sounds silly, but that you want to feel Christmassy.
Yeah.
And
it's horrible when it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and when it doesn't happen and you're sort of sitting there going, well, is there something dead inside me? And I've had that happen a lot. And then you're trying to bring forward this Christmassy feeling for other people and haven't got it yourself. It makes it even harder, and then can again set you off down another bad road, and that's not great.
So
sorry,
that's all right. Frog in your throat.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with that though. I mean, we've said it. It's always been a bit of a running theme throughout the week, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Preparation.
Oh yeah.
Preparation. So yesterday, I believe, when we were talking about family fandangos, we said have a conversation beforehand if you can.
Yeah.
And that will ease the stress.
Yeah.
I mean, it helped. It's helped with like me talking to you, saying I'm not having such a good day, and you step in and you say, okay, well, I'll do this, I'll do that, or even what can I do?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even about doing; it's about just having that awareness, so that if something happens, if we react in a certain way, then people almost know the reason why.
Yeah.
And that's, don't get me wrong, it's not excusing it, because it's something we have to learn to deal with, but it goes a little way towards explaining it.
Yeah.
And so having those conversations beforehand, saying, look, I might not be so good with whatever. I mean, especially if you know what triggers you.
Yeah.
Then it's possible that could ease the pressure somewhat.
It can. I mean, preparation is going to be important on every level of it. And that's the thing, from the practical side of things, doing all that cooking. If you're the person that cooks, it is a lot. Whether you like that or not, it is going to be a lot. But whatever you can do to make that easier, you do. I mean, my mum, for years, was cooking 3 different meats on Christmas Day. She would do turkey, she would do beef, she would do pork. And she would do all these vegetables from scratch, proper homemade roasted potatoes, homemade roast parsnips. She would be standing there making a Yorkshire pudding on Christmas Day, and there was so much going on, and it was so stressful. And the amount of times that everybody in the house was falling out with one another because it was so stressful. And one of the things that I've had to kind of start doing once I got my own home and I was doing Christmas for myself, I tried to be like my mum for a while, because that's what I did. And I can still remember the first time that I did Christmas dinner and sitting down at the table. Yeah, it looked beautiful. I got all this stuff out and I sat there and I burst into tears because I was exhausted, and it was too much. I couldn't cope with having to do so much and putting so much pressure on myself for it to be perfect. And that was the thing, it had got to be perfect.
And it doesn't have to be. It's.
No.
I mean, we were saying the other day about, just as a different conversation, we were talking about homes and houses.
Yeah.
And it was kind of home is with the people. It's not the building, it's the people.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Christmas. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a time to spend with the family.
Yeah. I think that's something that people kind of need to remember and make that time, because making the time not just for the family but also for yourself. So whatever you can do to alleviate that time or give yourself that time, wrong word, I'm sorry, is just make life easier for yourself. There's nothing wrong with frozen roast potatoes. There is nothing wrong with not doing a ridiculous number of joints of meat. Just be sensible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Preparation
I've already
is-
told you, Christmas Eve I will cook a ham, and whatever's left of that will be used on Christmas Day as well.
Yeah.
But that means I'm not cooking 3 joints of meat on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
I've still got that extra thing there if people want it.
Preparation is the key.
Yeah,
I mean,
and yeah,
having everything in place, having those conversations in, and even if it's something silly like grabbing somebody else and saying, look, I'm going to need help with X, Y and Z, could you help? And
Well-
not putting all that pressure on.
yeah,
But quite a few different things that we can do, kind of partly in preparation, but also on the day itself.
yeah,
And I think we're going to look at a couple of them too.
yeah, we are.
You're listening to A Very Mental Christmas, where we provide you with the best tips for getting you through this Christmas while managing your mental health. Don't forget, if you haven't already, you want to listen out for the key word in this episode and send that through to us so that you can have a chance of winning either a copy of Pills and Blades, Alex's 5-star autobiography, or a personalised Pushing Back the Shadows mug or other great prizes, so don't miss out. Preparing yourself for the actual day itself then, a few things that we can do just to help us cope, help us get through. Taking breaks from things.
Yeah,
I think we mentioned this would be a couple of days ago in the workplace one about getting breaks scheduled in into your workplace schedule, because that can help relieve some of the stresses. But it works the same with Christmas Day as well, doesn't it?
it really does. One of the things that I often do, and this is something I learnt this from my mum, is taking a little bit of time just for myself on Christmas Day, away from everybody else, away from the cooking, just on my own. And my thing is, I go and have a bath. That's what my mum used to do. It's what I actually do. And it gives me that little bit of mental time, and it's quite nice. I use the things I've had for Christmas usually, so I've had some nice bath smellies, and I'll put those in. I will lock the door. I might put a bit of Christmas music on, or I might just have silence. But the whole point of it is that half an hour, or even an hour, sometimes it has been an hour before now, away. And I always I schedule that at a time when there isn't actually anything to do. So, the turkey's in the oven, the kids are playing with their toys. It's that moment when you've got that little bit of freedom. And for me, that's one of the only ways I would cope with the day. Conversely to that, something that I know I've seen quite a lot of people do, and I know sometimes it is just because you've eaten so much turkey you kind of conk out, but having a little bit of quiet time after Christmas dinner, before the evening celebrations, just that little bit of time either on your own or just quiet or whatever, because that helps. It does help you get through that day, because Christmas Day can end up being quite a long day anyway. You can be up at 6 in the morning or earlier if you've got small children, and you may not go to bed on that night until midnight. It's an incredibly long day. And the only way that you're going to get through that with all the things that you've got to try and fit in is to take a bit of time for yourself. So whether it's you do sleep or whether you just rest, whatever you do, but make that time for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that thinking about it, I should have done last year.
Yeah.
If I'd taken those breaks, maybe I would have been able to cope a little better.
Yeah.
Because as we mentioned yesterday, it was one of those things I just locked myself away. I couldn't cope with it. And perhaps if I had taken those breaks, perhaps if I'd had that self-care time,
Yeah.
I might have coped a little better. I mean, it's all very well, given what I'm like, it's all very well jumping in and saying, oh, well, I played with my cousins who at that point were 9 and 7, I think. But even that isn't really necessarily self-care time, because you're still putting on that front, putting on that face. So, I mean, breaks are important, and even if it's well, it should be something that you like doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you said about having a bath. I think for me, like I did earlier today, I turned the Xbox on, I stuck my headphones on, and I played a bit of a game for half, 3/4 of an hour.
Yeah.
And that's taking a break. It's,
Yeah.
I wasn't fussing about the website or on Twitter or
No.
Facebook or whatever.
You just switched off for a little bit, and that's an important thing. You need that little bit of time just to give yourself some space. I mean, something else that I used to do, this was something, it was kind of a tradition more when my grandmother was alive, but Christmas afternoon, one thing that my mum would quite often do, not that I was an awkward child, but I would get sort of...
You awkward?
Yeah, I'd probably get into too much trouble if I was left sitting in the house all day. And so we'd have Christmas dinner, that would be fine, and it would be, okay, so-and-so and so-and-so, dividing up the chores, you're washing up, anybody who's not washing up, we're going for a walk. And that became a bit of a tradition for quite a number of years. So it would be either me and my grandmother, or sometimes I'd take my granddad's dog, or it was just that giving people some space. So from my mum's point of view, it was probably give me some breathing space from all the kids. You lot all go for a walk. And it was giving her some quiet time. Because she'd got 3 children, she'd usually got, either her mum or my dad's dad round for dinner. And we'd also know in the evening it would be even more full on because there would be even more people coming. She needed that space. She needed that time. Sometimes she'd come for the walk with us. Sometimes she'd just stay back at the house and have some quiet. But I look at that now and I recognise that for what it was. It's a way of coping with the day. And that's whether you have mental issues or not.
Yeah.
I think it's important that you do build in that time. They can become cutesy little traditions in years to come, like mine were. But they're part of what can make it copable.
Yeah, they certainly can. So, self-care time, whether that's taking a bath, having a nap, playing on the Xbox, whatever it is, that's something very, very important to put in there. It'll help you cope, it'll help you get through. And it's interesting you mentioning about the kids, because the next aspect that we're looking at for Christmas Day is very much in terms of loneliness.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily about being on your own. It could actually be being in a room full of people but still being lonely. And we're going to look at that in just a moment. Right now, just before we go for a break though, if you're in the competition, your keyword for the day is Christmas chaos. So you do want to send that to us in an email. Make sure that you've got all 6 keywords and send them to us for the competition for your chance to win a copy of Pills and Blades, which has
5-star reviews on Amazon.
I've trained her well.
Yeah.
But yeah, make sure that you send us that word, so it is Christmas chaos.
If you're looking for a really good read, I highly recommend that you check out Pills and Blades by Alex Davies. It's one man's struggle against depression, anxiety and insomnia. With 5-star reviews on Amazon, Alex writes an incredibly open and honest account of how his mental health deteriorated, how it drove him to self-harm and ultimately how it cost him his job. Follow his story as he talks about turning that darkness from pain to purpose and how he's forged a new career. It's available on Kindle and in paperback. Visit the www.pushingbacktheshadows.com/books to get your copy.
Loneliness then isn't necessarily about being alone, but we are going to cover that particular aspect as well. But it can be kind of being with people but still feeling lonely too, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you are suffering with things like depression and anxiety, you can feel very trapped within your own mind. And you can be sitting in a room full of people, all talking, all being very jovial, and never have felt so alone in all your life.
Yeah.
I had that at my last year's Christmas party. There was, for whatever reason, and I look back on it now, and now I recognise that was, there were already issues there. But I remember kind of sitting there and kind of looking around and thinking, I don't want to be here, and really feeling very isolated and very alone and not part of it. And that was quite hard to deal with, and I didn't like it very much. I mean, I know I spoke to people on text and things like that to try and break it up. Some of it, I think, was just because there was a kind of attitude of, well, let's all get wasted, and I really wasn't in that sort of mood. But it is quite a horrible feeling. You're surrounded by people, and it's like you can't talk to anyone. Yeah. And
and especially if you don't feel like you can explain what's going on, it can feel very lonely as well.
It can.
I mean, if you can't find the words to say why you're feeling the way you're feeling, it can leave you almost pushed out to one side. If you're not able to join in that respect, like last year with me, everybody was having a good time, everybody was laughing, and I'm sat there going, I'm really not feeling it. I can't seem to feel that kind of feeling. It made me feel quite stuck out on the edge.
Yeah.
And it was quite lonely. I mean, even though my dad wasn't good because he was struggling with his fibromyalgia, but even then it was still kind of, well, nobody quite gets it. Not completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they got it more than I would have thought, but even then it's still quite difficult if you can't explain it.
Yeah, and in terms of, I mean, I've had similar experiences. Mine was more on New Year's Eve, and after a certain point, because I just got exhausted, had to go and remove myself. But in comparison with the situation with you, where you felt like at the time it wasn't so much understood by people that were around you, I just basically went to my mum and went, Mum, it's too loud. It's too much for me tonight. I'm going to go upstairs. And it was like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Let me know if you need anything. Which was basically how to turn the TV on in her bedroom in the end. But went upstairs. I lay on the bed, and it was just that little bit of calm and quiet that I actually needed. And it did me a world of good. Because when I was forcing myself to sit there and kind of push my way through it, I was just feeling increasingly out of it.
Yeah.
By giving myself that break, I was able to go back in.
Yeah.
It took a little while, but I went back in, and then I was able to be part of it again. I know some people say, push through that feeling and, throw yourself into it. For some people that can work, and I think that's, if you feel that that's going to work for you, go for it, because you do find that you can have a really good time. But for some people that's not going to work. Some people it would make them worse. I think for you it would probably make you worse to push yourself through it, because every time I've ever seen you push yourself too hard,
for it later.
You pay for it later.
Yeah. I suppose really it's finding the coping mechanisms that work for you. I mean, if taking yourself out of the situation for a bit works for you to then go back in, fine.
Yeah.
If you can push through it, fine. And it might be something simple as, just having distractions.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm on a bad day, we get your toddler playing with me and gets me through.
Yeah.
Most of the time, up until she jumps on my stomach or something like that.
Yeah, that doesn't go quite so well.
No, but I mean, distractions could be a great thing. But then on the flip side, when you are actually alone for Christmas, that can have quite a detrimental effect, because there's nothing worse than having a day like that and having nobody around to, well, for want of a better word, to spend it with.
Yeah.
And I guess it's finding something to do. I mean, we were listening to the radio. We quite frequently have it on in the car, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
We were listening to Premier Praise, and they said that one of the things they've got is, I can't remember what they called it, but it was like an event finder. If you were running a Christmas event, they were going to put it up on their website on this interactive map, and then you could go on, you could have a look. If you were alone for Christmas, you could have a look, and it would tell you about all the events in your area. And it's quite a good thing. It lets you get out, lets you mingle with people, and that can help, so you're not alone. Because I don't know about you, but when I'm alone, I've got, unless I feel like putting the Xbox on or whatever, I've got nothing to keep me from my thoughts.
Yeah, that can be obviously quite detrimental to you straight away.
Yeah.
Because especially if you are suffering with depression, it will just take you into very dark places very quickly. I mean, one thing I know, it was a friend of mine from university used to do, because they were always alone at Christmas. Their family were out in America, and they were here, and everybody, I think he'd broken up with his girlfriend, and for about 4 or 5 years he was on his own every single Christmas. And I think it was the first very Christmas that he spent on his own, he said was the worst of his life, because he did, he just lay in bed until 11 o'clock, got up, put a microwave dinner in, because he was completely on his own. He said, I'm never doing that again. And after that, what he actually did was he joined one of the soup kitchens in Birmingham, and they would put on a Christmas dinner every year for the homeless, and he would work on Christmas Day doing Christmas dinners for other people. And he said one of the things about that was, A, he didn't feel lonely, B, it gave him a really good feeling of more of what Christmas is about. That bringing some light into the darkness over Christmas, and he was helping these people. And what was always quite nice is after they'd fed all, the people who'd come in for their Christmas dinner, all of the people who'd done the food would sit down together, and they would have a meal, which was brilliant.
It was.
And it was absolutely fantastic. And he'd done that for years. And what's quite sweet is actually doing that was how he met his wife on Christmas Day. He met her the one year at doing a Christmas dinner thing because she'd volunteered, because she was on her own. And they got talking. They found they'd got a lot in common, and it's one of those very cheesy stories, but it worked.
As the toddler would say, boom Zara May.
Yeah, boom Zara May. But even now, every Christmas they still do that. They don't cook Christmas dinner at home. They go down to the kitchens and they do the food.
And I suppose that's something that other people can do. I mean, we did, in my family, we did something similar when my parents used to live in Bridgewater in Somerset, and the Salvation Army ministers, as I've mentioned before on the website, and one of the things that Bridgewater Salvation Army band would do, so this is like the brass band the Salvation Army tends to be known for, is on Christmas Day it would be, instead of the morning service, so one of my parents would do the morning service, the other one would go with the band, and normally me and my brothers went along too, and we'd go to the local hospital, and we'd play however many carols for however long, and then we'd split into 2 groups, and we'd each do 2 homes, so care homes, and play some Christmas carols there. And it was, for some of those people, they weren't able to go and spend Christmas with their family.
No.
They weren't able to go out, particularly in the hospital, and go to
Christmas
something
parties.
Christmassy.
Yeah.
So we brought it to them.
Yeah.
And it was hard work. It was a lot of travelling and a lot of hard work on your lip playing a brass instrument for
wow.
2 hours.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was something that we were able to do. And even if, you don't have to be completely on your own to be able to do these things. You can, like you said, do it as a couple, do it as a family.
Yeah.
It was, I think, the last year that we did it, it was me, my brother, my sister-in-law, and my other brother all went along, which was great because we scared my sister-in-law something chronic because it was her first Christmas with us.
Oh dear.
And me and my youngest brother had the radio on in the front of the car. My other brother and his wife were in the back, and Ernie with his milk cart came on, and it's when both me and my youngest brother, without even discussing it beforehand, as soon as it came on, we got Ernie, and we just straight away, and he drove the fastest milk cart in the West. you know.
Yeah.
So it's even, it's something that you can do as a collective, as a group.
And that's the thing, if you know other people that aren't good, they can be a good support at Christmas and you can be for them as well. I mean, this is something that I know happens within my family. I know that there's a couple of people who they don't do so well when it's loud and busy and crazy, and I've noticed quite a lot when it comes to any kind of party, whether it's Christmas or not, when there's a lot of people, they gravitate towards each other and they will sit and do something quietly together.
Yeah.
And they're still there, they're still part of it, but they're having their quiet time and they're getting through. And do you know what? It's fantastic to do that. And I've done that. I mean, I think I've used this example before, but at my dad's funeral, there were just too many people.
Yeah.
And I had to get away from it, and I just went and sat at that point with my brother-in-law, and we just sat quietly. I don't think we even really spoke that much. It was just sitting, being quiet and away from everybody else, because it was just that huge amount of noise. We were still there, but it was just, you understand what I'm talking about, sort of thing, and you know how this feels, and it's quite nice to have somebody support you in that way sometimes.
Yeah.
So if when that whole aspect of lonely in a room full of people, well, you might not be alone, and if you know somebody else within your family or within your friendship group that has similar issues, maybe not exactly the same, but it might be worth speaking to them and say, look, if things get a bit mental, can I come sit with you?
Yeah. Preparation, like we said the other day, preparation's key, and you can get through the Christmas day.
Yeah.
It is possible, but just by having that preparation in there, having those breaks, the self-care time, and maybe having something else that you can do.
Yeah. I mean, I know we talked quite at length about all of the preparation, but we can't stress it enough. And the other thing that I know I said in the live video was, not the live video, Facebook Live, was that it is just one day.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful day, it can be, but it is just one day. And you can celebrate it however you want to. You don't have to do things in a mental way or a crazy way or go completely over the top. You can keep it quiet and it can still be just as special.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that I'd say to anybody. Just remind yourself that it doesn't have to be perfect. The only thing it has to be is yours.
You're listening to A Very Mental Christmas, where we provide you with the best tips for getting you through this Christmas while managing your mental health. Don't forget, if you haven't already, you want to listen out for the key word in this episode and send that through to us so that you can have a chance of winning either a copy of Pills and Blades, Alex's 5-star autobiography, or a personalised Pushing Back the Shadows mug or other great prizes, so don't miss out. You've been listening to A Very Mental Christmas, run by Pushing Back the Shadows. Hopefully you'll have gained some of the insights into different things that you can do to cope with your mental health this Christmas. Don't forget to enter the competition, listen to all the podcasts and find the keywords and send them to us so that you have a chance of winning. For the competition, all entries must be in by 6 o'clock on Sunday. That's 6 p.m. GMT for your chance to win. Don't forget as well, you can join us tonight at 8 p.m. on Facebook or 9 p.m. on Twitter. Both of those are GMT. If you want to join in the live videos, and don't hesitate to send us your top tips so that we can feature them on our videos. In terms of tomorrow, there won't be a podcast episode tomorrow because we're looking at wrapping things up. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a live video again, 8 p.m. on Facebook, 9 p.m. on Twitter, and we'll be presenting all the top tips, our favourite top tips from the week. So regardless of which day we're looking at, we'll give you our favourite tips. We will also be announcing the winner of the competition, so stay tuned because that could be you. And we'll be wrapping it up as a nice end to the Very Mental Christmas week. You've been listening to A Very Mental Christmas presented by Pushing Back the Shadows. Don't forget to enter our competition. You can email us the correct keywords that are in the podcasts. And don't forget to stay tuned for more upcoming podcasts and also for our live videos. Just a reminder, those are 8 p.m. tonight on Facebook and 9 p.m. tonight on Twitter's Periscope. Hope to see you then.